Good morning, gentlemen. As you know, on August 2nd, and again on August 4th, North Vietnamese surface vessels attacked U.S. destroyers operating on routine patrol in international waters in the Gulf of Tonkin. In retaliation for this unprovoked attack on the high seas, our forces have struck the bases used by the North Vietnamese patrol craft. During the night, 64 attack sorties were launched from the U.S. carriers Ticonderoga and Constellation against 4 North Vietnamese patrol bases and certain support facilities associated with those bases. These points are located on this map showing the Gulf of Tonkin, South China, North Vietnam. The first base is at Hong Gai in the north of Vietnam, the second at Lac Chau, the third at Phuoc Loy, the fourth at Quang Cay. And the fifth strike was against the Vinh oil storage depot, which is associated with the Phuoc Lao torpedo base. The oil storage depot, which contains 14 tanks, approximately 10% of the total petroleum storage capacity of North Vietnam, was 90% destroyed. Smoke was observed rising to 14,000 feet. In addition to the damage to the torpedo boat bases and to their support facilities, approximately 25 of the boats were damaged or destroyed. 2 of our aircraft were lost, 2 of our aircraft were damaged. All others have been recovered safely on the carriers. The destroyers Maddox and Turner Joy, which have been operating on routine patrol in the Gulf of Tonkin, have resumed their patrol operations in international waters. Last night, I announced that moves were underway to reinforce our forces in the Pacific area. These moves include the following actions. First, an attack carrier group has been transferred from the First Fleet on the Pacific coast to the Western Pacific. Secondly, interceptor and fighter bomber aircraft have been moved into South Vietnam. Thirdly, fighter bomber aircraft have been moved into Thailand. Fourthly, interceptor and fighter bomber squadrons have been transferred from the United States into advanced bases in the Pacific. Fifthly, an anti-submarine task force group has been moved into the South China Sea. And finally, selected Army and Marine forces have been alerted and readied for movement. I want to emphasize that the damage report which I gave to you is based on preliminary reports received shortly after the completion of operations. I'll take your questions and endeavor to answer them. Yes.
Mr. Secretary, were the planes that we lost, the 2 planes, down by ground fire? And also, was there any air action from North Vietnam?
The 2 planes we lost were down by anti-aircraft fire. There was no enemy air reaction.
Sir, can you
Yes.
tell us the height of the attack? How low did we come into? I'm trying to find out.
Generally, the strikes were at low level.
Times, local times on these?
The local times ranged from on the order of noon to 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Can you tell us, sir, how long the attack...
These are local Vietnamese times.
Can you tell us how long the entire strike lasted?
Roughly 4 to 5 hours.
What was the weather on it?
Bad.
Rainy or?
Low ceiling.
What type of anti-aircraft fire?
There was heavy anti-aircraft fire over several of the targets. Oh, guns rather than missiles.
Small scale or big caliber?
I can't tell you the caliber other than that it was heavy anti-aircraft fire.
Yes. Which of these bases the planes were down?
No, I can't. The question was, at which points were the 2 aircraft lost? I can simply say that the heaviest anti-aircraft fire was received at Hong Gai, the most northerly of the bases attacked.
Is that also the largest of the bases?
It is the largest, yes.
On the torpedo bases themselves, could you describe the damage, whether light, heavy, or?
It's too early to say, and we'll have to wait until the pilots' reports have been fully assessed.
Number of American casualties?
Two. Two pilots were lost, one in each of the two downed aircraft.
Are you giving out their names?
Not until their nearest of kin have been notified.
Sometime today.
Yes, it will.
No
Yes.
indication whether they could bail out or...
We believe that they were lost.
At sea or on land, sir?
At sea.
Will we fly reconnaissance missions over there?
We'll take such action as is necessary to determine the results of our operations.
How much of your petroleum supply did you say was...
Approximately 10% of the petroleum capacity of North Vietnam is located at Vinh, the point which was struck. Approximately 90% of that 10% was destroyed.
Sir, are these the only 4 torpedo boat bases that
These 4 are the main bases. With a coastline such as this, of course, the boats occasionally use other bases for staging areas.
Tell us what percentage of their total fleet? 20?
No, I can't, except that it's a very substantial percentage.
Mr. Secretary, how do you explain these attacks?
I can't explain them. They were unprovoked. As I told you last night, our vessels were clearly in international waters. Our vessels, when attacked, were operating in this area, roughly 60 miles off of the North Vietnamese coast.
There have been reports that South Vietnamese vessels were shelling or taking some sort of action against North Vietnam in this area at approximately this time.
No, to the best of my knowledge, there were no operations during the period I was describing last night. Yes.
Mr. Secretary, what orders now for either the 7th Fleet or for these particular units of the 7th Fleet?
Our orders to the commanders are to continue their patrols, to protect themselves against aggression on the high seas with whatever force is necessary.
Has there been any word what...
Yes.
Would you say that this is all that will be necessary now that the attack has achieved its objectives?
Whether this is all that is necessary depends entirely on the actions of the North Vietnamese.
You feel the airstrike accomplished the objectives?
The airstrike very clearly made clear to the North Vietnamese our intention to maintain our right to operate on the high seas. That was the objective. I think that has been accomplished.
What is the objective? To wipe out the PT boat fleet?
Our objective was to deter the PT boat fleet from further attacks on our vessels. I believe we've accomplished that.
Were any attempts made, Mr. Secretary, to go after the anti-aircraft batteries?
There were no actions against the anti-aircraft batteries. The attack was against the patrol boat bases and the associated facilities.
Secretary, last night there were 3 bogies reported, 3 unidentified aircraft. Did we ever find out in which direction these aircraft...
We have no further information on those unidentified aircraft. They did not participate in the attacks on our vessels.
Sir, yes. Are there villages or towns adjacent to or linked up with these bases?
There were no civilian centers close to the bases which were attacked last night.
Mr. Secretary, could you give us the estimate how many % of the North Vietnamese patrol boat fleet has been destroyed or damaged? No, I can't estimate for you the exact % destroyed or damaged, other than to say that it was a very substantial percentage of their fleet. Well, one more question, yes.
From what you say, there are no further actions of this kind going on at the moment or planned, is that correct?
No operations are being carried on by our forces at the present time, other than the continuation of the routine patrol activities of the Turner Joy and the Maddox, the 2 destroyers which have been operating in international waters in the Gulf of Tonkin. Thank you very much.